Friday, happy Saturday. Hope all is well. I'm about to do something I love to do, something to cheer myself up. I'm selling one of my properties. And yeah, I say cheer myself up because it's not easy when I sell my babies. Go to a car show. How about that? Alright, so I just want to break down the whole buy and flip versus buy and hold properties. And also I got a lot of questions on how to get started. And the first thing I want to say is that you need to start sooner rather than later. Don't wait. I mean, if you're renting right now, you're losing your most valuable asset, which is time. I mean, there's no more valuable asset than that you have as time. You know, when I started out really hard, I was about 28, 30, and some of the projects that I did, they were hard. They didn't look good, but over the span of those years, I'm 35, be 36 in September. I was able to spend my way out of them. The rental income captured the losses, and had I kept it for a much longer time, I would have made even more money. The property that I just sold was my third property that I bought. Probably one of the cheapest ones that I bought at $18,000. Like I said, everyone said that's crazy. I tried to get a lot of my friends at the time to jump in with me, and they didn't, but it's all good. But anyways, I actually did that one myself, total rehab by myself, and I learned a lot. So I probably put about $3,000 to $5,000 over the span of 4 years. Probably brought in about $30,000 of income, just in rental income, and I sold it for $39,500. And if I had flipped it, I probably would have made the same amount of money, $39,000, probably more like 35 back then. That's pennies. I mean, I'm not going to get much money out of that. So I just don't believe in flip, just in the way it's taxed. And also, you put all that work and time into it, you know. To me, making $15,000 wasn't enough on the work I put into that property. But keeping it over those years, I made about $45,000 on the spread. Now, some people say that's not really that much money, you know, but if you bought a $100,000 house, you weren't going to rent it much more than my $20,000 house. And that's what I figured out. Everyone's like, oh, I want to buy the big houses that you see on TV. Well, that's cool, but the numbers just don't add up. So let's just say, hypothetically, as opposed to buying my $18,000 house, let's say you bought a $50,000 house. It's going to have an extra bedroom, probably about 300 or 400 more square foot. Now I can rent my $20,000 house for $600, $650 consistently. Section 8 would give me $650 all day. Well, the $50,000 house is probably going to rent $750 at the most. $750, $800. If you got the $100,000 house, it'll probably get you $850, but it probably won't even be consistent. So on $20,000, I made more money. You multiply that out. Say you went with the $50,000, so that's double your money. So if I bought 2 of them, I made $1,200. If that's say versus the $100,000 house, I bought 5 of them. That means I would have made $2,000, and that's really how I got to where I was. It was just simple math, not worried about where it's at. And you know, a lot of people worry about where it's at. And I can understand if you're not from these areas, but the way I see it, to me, I got started in this because I wanted to see my neighborhoods better anyway. So it was more passion for me, number one. And then to me, I love this area, right? And economically, it just made so much more sense to buy the $20,000 house and get the money. You know, a lot of unknowns if you're not from those areas, and I get it. But the money is good, and guess what? Big people are catching on. I did not sell my house to another investor. I did not sell my house to another individual. I almost sold it to somebody on rent-to-own basis, but I really couldn't afford to because I have some other projects. But it was sold to a hedge fund company. That's crazy. A hedge fund company. That means these guys, their money is different, everything. And they didn't even, they paid asking, they handled everything totally different than an individual. The first thing they asked was how much you renting for. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to raise the rent on my tenant. And to me, I have to take that loss. And I ain't gonna lie, even though I needed the money, I would have rather have kept the property just for legacy's sakes, and also to continue to have the smaller guy in these neighborhoods. While you sleeping on these things, there's people with a lot of money who understand the same thing I do, who will buying them up by the blocks. Okay, so don't wait. If we are not careful, we're going to end up being a class of people who are all tenants. You know what I mean? So if you starting out and you want to buy your first house, I need to get going because I'm about to miss this show. If you just starting out in the real estate, make your first investment the one you live in, but don't buy your forever home. So the first house I bought, I don't know if you can, I'm gonna turn it around, you can see where I stay. I stayed in a piece of that trailer right there. Not much at all. And I kind of did the same thing. How you get up with all this cash? Well, that's how I don't spend much money. In my house, the rent is $575. The little red car that was in the yard, that's my roommate. He pays $350 of that. So every month for rent, I personally only spend $200. The rest is cash and goes back to my investments. And everything in my life is kind of touched that way, minus these cars. I do spend money on my cars. Anyways, moving forward. So buy your first home, but don't buy your forever home. The first house I bought was a $50,000 house. It was a really nice house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, about 1,300 square foot. And to me, I said, you know what? I like it. And if I want to rent it, it's something I can easily rent. The mortgage on that property was like $500 for 15 years. So I lived in it for a while. Then I started to look around for other houses because I was like, okay, this is too easy. I had rented out the rooms. I was actually bringing in $700 on that property while I was living in it. It was like crazy. So I started looking around for other properties and realized that the banks wasn't going to give me $20,000 on a property. So after like missing some good deals, waiting on the bank to qualify me and all this good stuff and turning me down, I said, you know what? I'll come up with this cash. So I ended up coming up with about $20,000. And then what I did was I borrowed some other money to make it look like I had enough to make the bid on the house, and I bought it. And it was when I bought the second house cash, that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm gonna be rich. I discovered how to really make money, how it all came together. I had an epiphany. I was like, oh my God, I get it now. Owning it is the best thing. Now the first property was prettier, it was in a nicer neighborhood, it was more expensive, but I wasn't really making that much money when I rented it. So I paid $500 and something a month on the mortgage. I rented it for $750. I only brought in $200 plus whatever principal would have gave me back. To me, those were pennies, and yes, over a course of 15 years, it would have been great, but not the kind of money I needed to buy the things I want to buy. When I bought the second property, and I bought it cash, and even though it was in horrible condition, wasn't in the nicest neighborhood, when I rented the second house, for $700, about the same price. All that money came back to me. So as opposed to making $200, I made $700 a month. Now I'm feeling like a boss, okay? Because me, at that time, $700 was about a week worth of work. So I had figured out how to replace 1 week of work, all right, and one investment. And after doing it, I just kept doing that over and over again, sticking to the same formula. Lastly, because I can't break the whole game down in a drive to a car show. But lastly, so why did I sell? Well, every time you go into different markets, every time you make a leap in life, there are some sacrifices you're going to have to make. And right now, I'm kind of in the fight of my life, trying to do something very, very big, probably more than I can chew personally. Number one, getting into commercial real estate is a totally different animal, dealing with totally different pressure and different things like politics, business owners, liabilities, laws that I've never even heard of. The taxes are different. The money is different. You know, when something breaks in one of my commercial properties, it's thousands of dollars. You know, I got to go home today or tomorrow and fix the toilet. That's going to cost me $20 out of my own pocket to drive down there and fix it. But when I have a plumbing problem in commercial properties, it gets very expensive. With that note, so that's the area I want to go into. Active money. And we'll talk about that later, about running business, because that's why I got into this. I got into this to be able to create a way and show people that there's a way of doing things that you're not always being taught on textbook or even TV. It's too easy. I'm a guy from Hardeeville driving a Dodge Viper. Anybody can do it.